Hello, my name is James Clegg and I'm curator at Talbot Rice Gallery, where we're delighted to be opening The Children Are Now, a group exhibition featuring 8 national and international artists and work by the child human rights defenders. Last year, the United Nations Convention for the Rights of the Child was incorporated into Scottish law. In recent times, people have also started to think into this subject called Childism, which is akin to feminism or decolonising practice. How might the voices and experiences of children transform the institutions around us and the way that we understand the world? So this felt like a really good moment to make an exhibition that puts children right at its heart. It includes artists from across the world, and it gets us to think about the construction of childhood in different geopolitical contexts. At the centre of the exhibition, we have these remarkable placards made by children from across Scotland. These are child human rights defenders, so they've worked for a long time with Children's Parliament to build confidence and learn how to advocate for children's human rights. They worked with Bob and Roberta Smith, who's also showing work in the exhibition, to express their calls to action.
It was an amazing experience. It was eye-opening for me because they have 3 issues that they were interested in. One was bullying. One can understand that kids would be interested in trying to stop bullying. Climate change. Well, we're all worried about climate change, aren't we? But then also vapes. As an adult, I thought, well, vapes quite a benign sort of thing, trying to get people to stop smoking. But actually, they're marketing these things for children. It's absolutely an abomination. You'll see these placards and you'll be moved by them because every mark that they've made is indicative of the fact that art is about curiosity, to try and understand the world, to depict the world, to make change in the world, but it's also about justice. And most of the artworks that I have made are slogans which say things about the arts, trying to pinpoint different qualities of art. What if art really did make children powerful? Well, art does make children powerful. But what if we had to dance and sing every day? You know, I'm asking people really if these slogans are true or whether they have some resonance in people's lives. I'm not really telling people how to live their lives. That's not what I think art is about.
The exhibition features a large hellmouth called Hellmouth 5 by the artist monster Chetwynd. This is a giant sculptural object that really dwarfs anyone in the space and I think brings in a sense of childhood magic. It's like some of the many portals you find in children's fiction, and it's something that you have to walk through in order to continue your journey and discovery of the rest of the exhibition. Monster Chetwynd makes what she calls impatient sculpture. It's made kind of out of paper mache. It's readily formed. It can become performative. But her work always contains lots of complex ideas and references to different cultural histories. So I think walking through this monster means that you take on a sense of joy and fun and transition, and that you're opening yourself up to something that bridges the adult and child world.
My name is Mai Nguyễn-Long and my primary material is clay. I was born in 1970, so that was for 5 years before the end of the Vietnam-American War. We were living in Australia then. My dad came from Vietnam and my mom, her relatives, they are Irish. They went there during the Great Famine. Yeah, so my work has also been influenced by discovering new things about my mom's heritage and interconnecting that with my father's heritage as well. I work a lot with unglazed clay because I like that earthy feel about the work, and the grounding has to do with connecting not only back to my Vietnamese heritage, so a lot of the symbols and forms come from researching 16th to 18th century lingwood carvings in the Red River Delta, but also to the broader idea of humans and connection to earth and mythologies beyond Vietnam about human beings and Mother Nature spirits. So it was for me a way of trying to understand and to come to terms with and overcome and find a creative way forward, working with the recognition of these uncomfortable histories that have informed my sense of self, my upbringing, and my family's sense of being in the world.
Hindi ko alam kung ano ka. Sino ka?
Who are you? Are you alone?
Kami ang mga taong bangka. 5 kami.
We're also showing work by Tuan Andrew Nguyen, and it's a film called The Boat People. This is an epic film that imagines a future world in which the last survivors are 5 children. The children have made these incredible costumes for themselves, and they seem to spend their time traveling around the world, finding the relics of adult civilization. It centers on Bataan in the Philippines, a place that received many of the refugees fleeing from the aftermath of the American-Vietnam War. And it's a place that's haunted by a lot of ghosts and spirits. So when the children explore its museums and its monuments, they find relics of war, of displacement, of colonization. They also come across religious statues and other artifacts. And they start to form this ritual where they recreate these objects in wood, and then they sacrificially burn them and send their ashes out to sea. It's very elemental, this process, and it's almost as if they're trying to cleanse the world of all this violence and memory that adults have created. In the upper galleries you can find the work by Hjort Guttu, who's a Norwegian artist and filmmaker, and we're presenting 2 of her films that follow the same boy, Jens, when he was an 8-year-old and then when he's 18 years old. As an 8-year-old, Jens is incredibly precocious, and the artist actually found this boy when she took her own son on the first day of school. So there was this moment at school where all the parents, all the adults were sat on these bleachers in a sort of hierarchy, looking down on the children who were paraded in front of them, almost like specimens. And this young boy, he stood out in front of the parents, took out his own camera, and in effect reversed the gaze. And the artist thought this was so remarkable, this act of defiance and courage and bravery, that she decided to make a documentary film following his life and his tracks. So we see Jens in school, sometimes struggling, but always questioning with a very astute critical mind the rules and conventions around him. And in the second film, we see him as an 18-year-old looking back and thinking about the things that he still agrees with, that he now disagrees with, and also been given an opportunity to talk with the artist about the making of the film and the impact that had upon his life. We're also showing 2 works that we made here in Edinburgh, exhibition copies of works by Kemang Wa Lehulere. Kemang is often used in material culture to think about the history and legacy of apartheid. One of the artworks we've made is constructed from school desks that have been cut down and made into crutches that are then pushed through these travel cases. And Kemang's thinking about the way that the black communities that he grew up in had been displaced from their homes and moved from the land. But also, of course, he's flagging up this idea of education not being equal for everyone. During apartheid, the black children had to attend state schools, and they were given a specific education that, in the artist's words, were about becoming servants to the white ruling class. So I think he's talking about that with the way that these crutches, these objects that can often support people, have been broken or transformed into things that are actually weights and impediments to your movement. But he's a very clever sculptor, and he leaves it open to our interpretation to think about whether these might be messages of travel and dreams and hopes, or if they are still sort of tied to the baggage and legacy of apartheid. The second work that we have by Kemang in the exhibition is called Black Beauty After Anna Sewell, and it's a new artwork that is thinking about the way that many books were banned in South Africa. So the children's book that a lot of people know and love, called Black Beauty, which is really about a horse telling its own story, a story of kindness and cruelty. But that was banned in South Africa during apartheid because the censors just didn't like the title, that association of blackness and beauty together. It's a big monument, it runs all around the space, and I think it almost has this sort of silent, poignant quality to it. And this is emphasized by a series of cast hands around the space. These are hands that are signing in South African Sign Language, but they're intentionally fragmented and broken, so we can't really receive a complete message from them.
Hello, I'm Adéla Součková. I'm an artist based in Paris and working with symbolic and archaic topics in a really performative way, often connected to rhymes or children games. And this work is called Hopscotch. It evolves from my thinking about rituals, and more I looked into it, more I was finding out the multi-layered pseudo-histories and histories how hopscotch developed and started. And somehow I collected them, and then I created this drawing and setting and a flyer to navigate you through the game and process your personal rituals or imagine various trajectories of your life, of your day. So I basically use it as a kind of tool to somehow activate some old patterns of behaviors which are physical and meanwhile symbolic.
We're then showing a film by Francis Alÿs called Real Unreal, and he's playing upon the sound connection between real, spelled R-E-E-L, and real, R-E-A-L, to get us to think about the difference between representing the world and the world as it actually is. So this film is shot in Kabul, the capital of Afghanistan, which at the time, in 2011, was undergoing the Afghanistan war. He follows a group of children through the streets as they play with a film reel. So we see these physical, tactile objects become toys and wheels for the children to really play with. And I think it's a way of the artist showing us this very alternative perspective on the city, a city that we might see through news reports or through Hollywood. We're now seeing at the ground level through this very frenetic, vibrant game. In recent years, Alÿs has worked a lot with children, and I think that's because it really suits his artistic method, where he uses an idea, or what he might call an axiom, a proposition, and then he sees what happens when that idea comes into conflict with the real world. And children are brilliant at taking a scenario and evolving it and playing with it and seeing what it becomes.